Welcome everybody. This is second part of the series where I'm going to study the emergencies. National emergency, which is Article 352 in the Indian Constitution. A national emergency is a situation declared by President of India when the country's security is at risk. During such an emergency, the normal federal structure of the constitution changes. The center gains extensive powers over the states, and many fundamental rights, especially Article 19, gets suspended. What does Article 352 Clause 1 says? The President can proclaim national emergency if he is satisfied. Satisfied is a very strong word. That the security of India is at risk. Not just India, any part of its territory is at risk by war, external aggression, and armed rebellion. War is when two nations knowingly are, attacking each other, fighting with each other. External aggression is when one nation is like oblivious, it's silent and innocent. Not exactly innocent, it can be innocent, no one is innocent. Like he doesn't know anything is happening and other nation is attacking any of its territory and he's oblivious about that fact. This is external aggression. And armed rebellion is a violent protest with the use of arms, not our body parts, arms like weapons, ammunition. And this is a violent protest capable of overthrowing a government. This threatens the foundation of government. Such sort of protests must be there for the president to be satisfied to proclaim, national emergency. Before the 44th Amendment, which was in 1978, the term used was internal disturbance. Any kind of internal problem, strikes, protests, riots, political unrest, even if it wasn't violent, which was replaced with armed rebellion, actual violent revolt against the government with weapons, force, and intent to overthrow the authority. So, before the 44th Amendment 1978, the term used was internal disturbance instead of armed rebellion. Armed rebellion was introduced after the 44th Amendment, okay? Because internal disturbance was like any sort of protest, either peaceful or violent. Peaceful, like they just are protesting with slogans, there's no use of arms or force or violence. Even such sort of protests were, capable for, president for the proclamation of national emergency. And the prime ministers during that time, during these peaceful protests, would take advantage of it and would proclaim this national emergency. Now you're thinking that why prime minister? Wasn't the provision is of like president to be satisfied and proclaim it? So president works with the advice of council of ministers who is headed by our prime minister. Okay, so it must be armed rebellion. So the President of India uses the proclamation of national emergency. However, this proclamation must be made on the written advice of the Council of Ministers. Not exactly Council of Ministers, Union of Cabinet Ministers must be there, headed by the Prime Minister. See, I told you, President cannot proclaim this national emergency, cannot issue this proclamation. It issues this only and only on the written advice of the cabinet ministers, which is headed by prime minister. Because if it's not written, then like it's not that serious, it can be misused. and it has been misused in the past many times. So there was like this provision made. This provision was also brought in the 44th Amendment 1978 to prevent the misuse of president's power. Earlier only prime minister's advice could trigger it, you know, but now there is need of written advice. It was misused in 1975. Okay, so the entire cabinet, which is Council of Ministers, must formally approve the advice of the formally approve, which means all of them must approve that advice. Not a single one must be like, nah, okay. So it must be in writing before it reaches the president. So there must be like formal approval among themselves on the written advice before they actually advise the president, and then president issues the proclamation. After that proclamation, there is work of whole parliament now. Firstly only union of cabinet, right, union cabinet, and then president issues the proclamation, and then whole parliament approves it within 2 months. Firstly there was only like within 1 month, national emergency within 1 month. State and financial emergency can be proclaimed, can be approved within 2 months. Even this emergency also could be, might have been approved within 2 months, but again 44th Amendment Act brought this provision and changed the timing from 2 months to 1 month, because national emergency is like kind of serious issue, right? Whole nation's security is in your hands, it is at risk, and you cannot wait for 2 months for it to approve, right? So after the proclamation, it must be approved by both houses of parliament. It must be approved within 1 month from the date of issue. Once satisfied that the security of India or any part of it is threatened by war, this is after the advice of Union Cabinet. Once the president is satisfied that the security of India or any part of it is threatened by war, external aggression or armed rebellion, the president issues a formal proclamation of national emergency. It can apply to whole of India or only a part of its territory. Okay. So after the proclamation, it must be approved within 1 month. If Lok Sabha is dissolved during the time of this proclamation, like there is no confidence motion there was, and it was passed, and the government is dissolved now, and during that time there is like there is war or any of the rest two options, right? Those occur, and now from where they will get the approval? If the Lok Sabha is dissolved, then during this period Rajya Sabha's approval is all we need. Okay. The Rajya Sabha approval is enough for the moment, and the new Lok Sabha, when it is formed, they will have to approve it within the 30 days of their formation, reconstitution of its 30 days, within 30 days of its first sitting after reconstitution. They reconstituted, and then they had their first meeting. After those 30 days, there must be that special majority is needed in both houses. National emergency is passed by special majority. Let me write it somewhere. We can just do comparison, which is very important here to learn all these. State emergency and financial. Approval first, which is within 1 month. This is approval within 2 months. Well, I didn't read it again, I might be wrong. Let me just write within. I won't write the whole point yet. Next was what we were just talking about. I'm writing really, really bad. Yeah, special majority. Special majority is that 2/3 of the member present there must have approved that. In simple majority, it's like half of the members present must approve, but in this special majority, two-third must be there. Sorry, 2/3 of the members present must approve this. I will write rest later on. I'm not sure if this is given a provision or not. I mean difference or not. Special majority is needed in both houses. More than 50% of total membership must be there, and 2/3 of the members present and voting. Once approved, the emergency continues for 6 months. All emergencies are firstly proclaimed only for 6 months. They can be extended, but there must be new approval for that. So it can be renewed indefinitely as many times as you need, but each renewal requires parliament approval every 6 months after its expiry, again by special majority. Okay, so revocation, we can't be just keep extending it. We need to revoke it once, at some point of time. The president can revoke the emergency at any time by issuing a fresh proclamation of revocation. The president can issue freshly. Sorry, but I'm even speaking. The president can issue fresh proclamation for the revocation this time. Okay, for revocation of the national emergency, but this doesn't need parliamentary approval. And 44th Amendment Act 1978, if Lok Sabha disapproves the continuation of emergency, if they want to extend it, and Lok Sabha does not approve such extension of national emergency after 6 months, the president must revoke it. This is a special power given to Lok Sabha. 1/10 of Lok Sabha members can give written notice demanding a special sitting to discuss this approval. Wait a sec. If Lok Sabha disapproves the continuation of the emergency, the president must revoke it. 1/10 of Lok Sabha members can give written notice demanding a special sitting to discuss its disapproval. Okay. One-tenth of Lok Sabha members can, ask for special sitting for the discussion of its disapproval. They must give written notice for that, by the way. Okay. This was added in 44th Amendment 1978. Judicial review. Of course, President's satisfaction is subject to judicial review. This is also under 44th Constitutional Amendment. In 42nd Amendment Act 1976, there were a lot of unconstitutional changes made by Parliament, of course. They were so unconstitutional, against the fundamental rights or what our constitution's provisions say. They were made during the emergency. They thought that the Parliament has, unlimited powers during the emergencies. But After all this, 44th Amendment Act 1976 was passed, which changed those unconstitutional changes. They removed all those provisions which were unconstitutional. Okay, so now effects of so earlier president satisfaction to proclaim the emergencies was not subject to judicial review, which is now true because it is subject to judicial review, and thank God it is. Effects of national emergencies. First, center state relations. We have bicameral parliament, which we, took after UK and Switzerland. No, let me see. Certain features were taken from American Congress. Okay, Congress is like American Parliament, right? I'm not sure. I should be ashamed for that. American Congress is the bicameral legislature of the United States federal government composed of two chambers, the Senate and the House of Representatives. Its primary function is to create laws. Okay, so Indian Parliament is equivalent to American Congress. Like we have Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, House of the People and Council of States. They have the Senate and House of Representatives. Okay. Senate is the upper house, like our Council of States, and House of Representatives is House of the People in India. This is good. They have 50 states, and each of those states have two senators. So their Senate has 100 members. I shouldn't read this now because I will just get confused. The more the knowledge you have, more confused you get, really, and this is really true. More languages you learn, the more you stop having your what it is called, like, hold or command over a certain language. This is like really annoying. I think I'm starting to forget Benton aliens names. Nice. Okay, I'm wasting my time, which I really shouldn't. Okay, so state and center-state relations. We have bicameral parliament and federal structure, which we took from UK. During a national emergency, India practically becomes unitary or centralized state. There's no federalism anymore. Executive powers. I wrote it somewhere, like executive powers are, handed over to president and legislative powers to parliament. Okay, so this is under Article 353 clause A. Hello. 352 article is where national emergencies provision is given. Okay, and under Article 353 there is effects written, like what are the effects of national emergency. So executive powers. Central government can direct any state government on how to exercise its powers. State governments are no more independent over that aspect. In that aspect, central government can direct any state government to exercise its powers in a certain way. The center takes control over the state executive machinery, as we all know. Legislative powers, Article 353, Clause B. Parliament gets the power to make laws on any subject, including those in the state list. We all know Union Parliament makes, decisions or laws only and only on the matters stated in the Union list. But during national emergency, Union Parliament can make laws on the matters written in the state list as well. This is written under Article 353, Clause B. So we can say that the legislative powers of state are, handed over to Union Parliament, which is our legislature. These laws remain in force for 6 months after the emergency ends. So, I read somewhere something like Lok Sabha extension, right? Like if there is extension in the tenure of the Lok Sabha due to emergency, like they cannot re-elect, right? There's war going on and you are not going to go to your certain constituency to vote your own representative, right? Like that's silly and foolish and stupid. So Lok Sabha is extended, the tenure I mean, and it can remain in his office till 6 months after the emergency ends. Okay, so legislative powers to remain in force, like the laws the union legislature made under during national emergency on the matters written in the state list, they remain in force till 6 months after the emergency ends. And Article 354 say this is about financial relations, not financial matters. I don't know if this word is even like matter or not. Or whatever. The president can modify the distribution of financial resources between central and states. He may suspend. Okay, so this is the work of president. Again, president can modify the distribution of financial resources between the center and state. He may suspend the requirement that certain taxes or grants be given to states. He may suspend the grants, given to states or something like that. Fundamental rights now. As we said during national emergency, certain fundamental rights may get suspended. So suspension of Article 19, this has separate article of it, which is Article 358. It says when the emergency is declared on the grounds of war or external aggression, not on the grounds of armed rebellion, if and only if emergency is declared on the ground of war and external aggression, then Article 19, which is freedom of speech, movement, automatically gets suspended. Why? Let me tell you what does Article 19 actually include. There are like certain points under that. Oh well, I was going to search on Google while I have Bear Act just in front of me. How stupid of me. Well, Google was easy, I guess. Now just flip the pages. Here it is. Freedom to speech. Sorry, my bad. All citizens shall have the right to freedom of speech and expression, to assemble peaceably and without arms, to form associations or unions. Shit. Oh my god. What the? Great. Yeah. Right to freedom of speech and expression, freedom to assemble peaceably and without arms, to form associations or unions, to form. This is done. To move freely. What is happening, bro? I'm gonna say it again. Maybe I learn it. Freedom to form associations and unions. Okay. Freedom to move freely throughout the territory of India. Like you imagine there is war going on, and you are like, I want to go to Himalayas. I want to go for hiking, and there's bombs dropping over you and all. So I still haven't finished it, bro. To right to freedom of speech and expression, to assemble peaceably and without arms, to form associations and unions, to move freely throughout the territory of India, to reside and settle in any part of the territory of India, to exercise any profession, or to carry on any occupation, trade, and business. These rights, these freedoms under Article 19 is suspended, are my bad. To form freedom of speech and expression, to move freely throughout the India, to form associations and unions, to assemble peaceably and without arms, to conduct trade and any sort of business, and to settle anywhere in any part of India, to practice any profession. I covered all it, right? Finally, wait a sec. Speech and expression, union and association, and then to assemble peaceably and without arms, to settle in any part of the India, to move freely throughout the India, to practice any occupation, conduct trade, business, or occupation. Why am seeing 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, who cares? So these were the rights under Article 19 which you have, and they get suspended during the emergency, national emergency. This is Article 358, suspension of Article 19. When the emergency is declared on the grounds of war or external aggression, Article 19, freedom of speech, movement automatically gets suspended. This means the government can make laws or take actions violating these rights, and they cannot be challenged in court. So if you are like, you want to move somewhere, like you want to go somewhere, and if government is stopping you, you cannot go to court and enforce your this right under Article 19, because it gets suspended, and governments can make laws during that emergency violating these rights, and they cannot be challenged in court. This doesn't apply when emergency is declared due to armed rebellion, because India is so huge, and like if you want to go somewhere, it's like very less likely that there might be armed rebellion there, because I hope you're not that stupid that where there is protest going on and you want to go there, and if you can go there if you want to be part of that protest, by the way. So it doesn't get suspended when the cause of national emergency is armed rebellion. Okay, these rights revive automatically once the emergency ends. Okay,